And a very happy Monday to you at 12:07 in the West. It's the John Phillips Show. Mr. Randy Wang's in Culver City.
John, at a press conference celebrating the 35th anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act, not ready for primetime player LA City Councilwoman Imelda Padilla was a little nervous, so she thought she'd start off with a joke.
And what a great day to come together, right? I'm so glad that we're here to be very intentional about celebrating the 35th anniversary of the American with Disabilities Act since 1990. How many of us can remember 1990? I know I can. Yeah. Elementary for me, good times.
And if you're wondering why Imelda Padilla was the head speaker at this presser, apparently she grew up with rickets.
No kidding.
Had to have surgery and doesn't like the stairs.
I was about to say she's headlining because Karen Bass is in Ghana for an inauguration. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. Well, we're going to begin today with an update on a story we brought to you some time ago involving two women who showed up to a California state penitentiary for conjugal visits with very dangerous inmates. Both of them ended up dead. The inmate said it was accidental. The state says otherwise. And now the families of the women who were killed are suing.
Accidental? What, were they doing a little chokey choke?
Maybe. Some people like it rough.
For more on the now wrongful death lawsuit aimed at the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation because of the two women murdered during conjugal visits at Mule Creek State Prison, here is CBS Sacramento.
California's prison system under...
What a lighthearted intro.
California's prison system under fire tonight. The CDCR, or Department of Corrections, facing a lawsuit after two women...
And rehabilitation, although they don't really do that.
Well, I don't know if this was part of the rehabilitation. It was definitely supposed to be part of the blowing off steam.
Facing a lawsuit after two women were killed during conjugal visits. Now, those visits at the Mule Creek State Prison.
And the murders happened early this year, but the victims' families are now teaming up suing the CDCR for wrongful death.
Wait, how is this their fault?
Because the taxpayers are always at fault. Anyone who does something stupid wants someone else to pay for it. And typically, they look for the someone with the deepest pockets. In this particular case, it's the taxpayers of the state of California.
If you willingly enter a maximum security prison, don't you have to sign all kinds of waivers?
Yeah, but those waivers mean nothing in court.
Your reporter Brady Hablive has the details in the suit.
This is a story that we have been following for months now, since two women were killed in separate attacks as they participated in conjugal visits with their partners. Both men serving time on...
Do they wash those sheets after the murders?
I would hope they would just throw them out.
Both men serving time on previous murder convictions, and now the families are hoping that this lawsuit will spark change.
And you remember how, the prison guards have a stipend to, go buy things for the conjugal visit apartment, so they go do a Target run?
Oh, yeah. Can you imagine what's on that list? I'm going to need a box of wine, a Duraflame log, and a box of Magnums.
We just want justice. We just want answers.
I just want to know, why this was allowed to happen.
The family of the two victims...
Well, she went there on her own accord. Both of them did.
Yeah, your relative has horrible judgment. That's how this happened.
This isn't like, I never knew he was a murderer. These are convicted murderers.
It's already been adjudicated, for heaven's sake.
The family of the two victims speaking out and demanding justice after Tanya Thomas and Stephanie Dowles were both killed by strangulation during conjugal visits at Mule Creek State Prison.
I don't want anything to happen to anyone else going up there, I want justice.
In a news conference Thursday, the family's attorney announced...
Well, you say justice, but when you sue, it's not for justice. It's for cashola.
Yeah, it's for new cars and new jewelry.
I want justice.
In a news conference Thursday, the family's attorney announced that they're pursuing legal action against the prison and CDCR for wrongful death, claiming the prison didn't have enough safety protocols in place to keep their loved ones.
Okay, what are we supposed to do? Have someone right there in the Mark Antony and Cleopatra suite at the No-Tell Motel watching them as they, I don't know, make love?
I don't think there was a lot of love made in there.
Is that what we're supposed to do now? Who among the employees of the state of California is a voyeur who wants to see a convicted murderer have sex with a woman?
Claiming the prison didn't have enough safety protocols in place to keep their loved ones alive.
Can you sue the Department of Corrections if you have a family member that gets shivved to death in prison?
I would have sued the families of these women for the cost of cleaning up the mess.
And they're demanding accountability for the state prison system, the warden, and everybody associated with this prison system, including the guards, who allowed two women who went to see their husbands.
Their murderer husbands? It's not like they got killed by an air conditioner that fell on them. They got killed by their murderer husbands.
In the cradle of their love.
To get murdered for absolutely no reason.
The families claimed the prison failed to properly screen and supervise the visits, and that the prison officials even tried to cover up the first incident.
We're going to have a chaperone now.
Wait, she picked him. You ever heard about that site, Plenty of Fish in the Sea? We have all kinds of fish in the sea. We live in the largest state in the union. These women could have picked anyone. And who do they pick? Jaws.
I can't explain it, but prisoners get lots of pen pals.
Oh, I can. There's a lot of really dumb women on this planet.
Assemblymember David Tonkapaw represents parts of the Central Valley and is also calling for change and seeking legislation to potentially end conjugal visits.
And remember, California is only one of 4 states that still has conjugal visits.
I'm telling you, they do this for the same reason that they let them lift weights and play basketball. If they don't blow off steam doing something, they're going to all fight with one another or fight with the guards.
Yeah, but they're still doing that.
That is true. They're pretty aggressive in there.
In the state altogether.
These 2 families and 2 lives have been lost that should still be here today. That if we just had common sense policies in place, these women would both be alive.
What about the common sense of not going to a place full of incredibly violent people willingly?
I like this guy, but it seems like Sacramento's starting to get to him already.
That if we just had common sense policies in place, these women would both be alive.
No, they wouldn't, because they would have picked someone else on the outside who's just as violent as the one on the inside.
What kind of policy should we have, Tangipa? Maybe if you're willing to do a conjugal visit with your murderer husband, you have to have a session with the psychiatrist first?
We should definitely take their driver's licenses away. That I can tell you.
That if we just had common sense policies in place, these women would both be alive.
Legal experts say that the state is usually well protected from lawsuits thanks to immunities. But in this case, it's not a matter of whether or not the 2 victims consented to be at the prison, but rather whether the prison is responsible if they didn't do enough to protect the visitors.
What were they supposed to do? It's a conjugal visit.
You know what you're signing up for when you travel to the prison. Imagine the outcry. Imagine the lawsuits if we said, okay, you can have a conjugal visit, but we have to have armed personnel in the room with you while you complete the act.
Some people might like that.
Some people, yes. My guess is a convicted murderer who plans on killing his bride is not among them.
And what steps did the prison take to be reasonable, to do what we would expect them under the circumstances?
Oh, now we're talking reason, huh? If only we could have seen the future and understood that some of these women made some wrong turns in their lives.
I mean, the policy is insane because you think conjugal visit 30 minutes in a trailer. No, this is an apartment that's on the facility that you get to stay at for like 2 to 3 days.
From the point of view of the guards, it's probably a good idea to just get the violent ones out of their hair for a few days.
To be reasonable, to do what we would expect them under the circumstances. And did they create a special duty, like a special relationship between the poor victim here and the state, where they kind of were going to protect her inside the prison?
Okay. What expectation do you have that the state will protect you if you are in an apartment alone with a convicted murderer for 3 days? What reasonable expectation of safety exists? What do you think? They're going to come down the chimney like Santa Claus the moment they hear you screaming?
I reached out to CDCR, and they tell me that they're unable to comment on pending litigation. Meanwhile, Tanya Thomas's husband, Anthony Curry, has been charged with murder related to her death. However, charges have not yet been filed for Stephanie Dowell's death.
What are they waiting for?
I don't know, but I think the guy's waiting for the next pen pal.
So there you go. The families of the 2 women that got murdered at Mule Creek State Prison this year are suing the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation for wrongful death.
Okay, I feel sorry that these 2 women are dead. That being said, neither one of these families deserve 1 red cent. The judgment of these 2 women is horrendous. And you know what happens when you have bad judgment? Bad things happen. Would I like to fix it? Of course I would. Lots of people around us have bad judgment. Look at idiots who decided that it would be a good idea to set off fireworks illegally in the Pacific Palisades right in the middle of fire danger. What kind of judgment do you think they have? My guess is very poor. How about the people we talk about every day who decide to steal Kias and Hyundais, use them as battering rams, and steal the ATM out of the 7-Elevens? How would you classify their judgment? My guess is that would be pretty poor too. What do these people all have in common? Well, at a certain point in life, if you make one too many bad decisions, something bad is going to happen to you. Now, something bad could be you get caught and you go to jail, or something bad could be you hang out with the wrong crowd and a member of the wrong crowd does something very bad to you. How the hell is John supposed to fix that? I can't go back in time and give you 2 different parents so you have a little judgment and a couple of brain cells to rub together. Would I like to? Of course. Can I? No. So what we have to do is we have to sit here and hope and pray that you don't go with every gut feeling that you have. Because the gut feelings that you have are usually very, very wrong. If people have an angel and a devil on each shoulder, we know which one you're going with 9 out of 10 times. So let's just hope that in circumstances that produce great danger, every once in a while you go with the angel wings and not the devil horns. Can we rely on that to happen? Of course not. That's why you are where you are. So, when the bad thing happens and then your family turns around and blames all of us collectively, they're kind of missing the point. All of us collectively would have made very different decisions and certainly would not allow you to wreck your life the way you have. But we don't get a say. We don't get a vote every time you go online and pick a different prisoner to start writing letters to. If I was in the room, I would say, don't click send. If most of us were in the room, we would say, don't click send. But we're not there. And you did. And then you decided at a certain point that it would be a good idea to go pack a bag for a weekend trip, a lover's nest, where you get in the car and you go to a prison to meet with the convicted murderer that you are also married to, and spend 3 days alone with them without any supervision. You decided that was a good idea. If I were in the room, I would say, you know what? How about Laughlin? You ever been? Get a nice room at Harrah's, take the water taxi from property to property. They have great Elvis impersonators. You'll have a ball. Have you ever considered that? But no, we weren't in the room when that happened, so of course they went to the prison for a roll in the hay with a convicted killer. Then the bad thing happened. Now we're supposed to write a check? No, no, no. That's not how it works. No soup for you. You get nothing. And I can't imagine that there's anyone out there who believes that these families deserve a penny. So let's go ahead and throw it open to the phones now at 800-222-5222, 1-800-222-5222, and let's discuss that question. Do you believe these families deserve any money? I don't. What say you? 800-222-5222, 1-800-222-5222. Two women were murdered while visiting Mule Creek State Prison for conjugal visits with their convicted killer husbands. Now, their families say the state of California failed to protect them, and they want money from you and me, the taxpayers of California. I wouldn't give them $1. What say you at 800-222-5222, 1-800-222-5222. If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, you're monitoring the mailbag.
Eric the mailman writes in at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. Subject line, conjugal supervision. Hey, cool John and hot Randy. I know a person who may volunteer to watch the murderous freak-offs. Can I get an assist from Shangy?
That's right. I like that. That was amazing.
And if you missed an episode from last week and you want to find out what you missed out on, Randy, that's easy to do.
All you got to do is search for The John Phillips Show wherever you get your podcasts, whether it's the Apple Podcast app, iHeart, Spotify. Search for The John Phillips Show. Hit subscribe. You can download all the episodes. You could do a Google on the YouTube. You could get the KABC app. You could get the KSFO app. Easiest way to listen live to all these radio stations and download all the podcasts. You can listen to these podcasts while you're going about your day, like if you're shopping at Target. Just be careful if you're shopping at the Target in Vallejo.
Our Target was set on fire.
All right, we're taking your calls right now at 800-222-5222, 1-800-222-5222. Two women are dead after visiting Mule Creek State Prison for conjugal visits with their convicted killer husbands. These were not people who were in prison because they stole money, didn't pay their taxes, whatever the case may be. That's a nonviolent offense. They knew these guys were convicted killers. They chose to go up to that prison for a conjugal visit, and they didn't make it out alive. Now, their families are suing the state of California, saying it's the state of California's fault. The state of California failed to keep them safe while they were having a conjugal visit with their killer husbands. I wouldn't give them a cent. What say you at 800-222-5222, 1-800-222-5222. Let's begin with John in El Cerrito. John, hello.
Hey, guys. Love the show.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's I wouldn't give them a cent either, but it's the old age story from the beginning of time. Women love the bad boys, which, if you remember, is why the Night Stalker, Richard Ramirez, didn't get married until he wound up on death row.
Well, I think part of the reason that certain people in the public want the Menendez brothers out is because certain women out there think they're going to end up marrying them.
Yeah, well, it goes right down from the top. It's the state of California. I mean, on a somewhat related subject, I'll never forget, I was reading the Sunday Chronicle a couple months back, and Newsom wants to transform San Quentin. He's already dismantling death row. He's given it the rename of rehabilitation. And I kid you not, he wants to transform it into this Scandinavian type oasis getaway, complete with a farmer's market.
Well, good luck with that. Although I will say, if there is a farmer's market, all the women who want to marry Scott Peterson will have something to do on a Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, yes. And they can pose for their wedding photo just like the Night Stalker did, in his prison blues, with his arm around his new bride, her holding a new bouquet, standing in front of this beautiful mural in San Quentin's waiting room. And meanwhile, violent crime will go unchecked and out of control in California like it is now. Love the show, guys. Thanks.
Thank you so much for the call. And Randy, you could almost even make the argument, well, if they just killed people that wronged them in some way, or random people or whatever, I guess you could make the argument to yourself that they're not a threat to their spouse. But Scott Peterson killed his wife.
And the little baby.
That's right. And there's lining up around the block to marry that guy.
If you're single and you're listening to this, I'm sorry. That's depressing.
Let's go to Ron in Harbor City. Ron, hello.
Hello. I disagree with the people wanting to get money out of this, the family. I agree with you pretty much 100%. You take your life into your own hands if you're going to go into a secluded room with someone for a couple of days alone, and especially if you know what their background is. I was in prison for 25 years. I did participate in family visiting. I never had a conjugal visit. I never got married. So I had family that came and spent a couple of days with me. So I just feel like, you don't know the family a dime. I feel sorry for the ladies that they made that kind of mistake, but there are a lot of con artists in there, and some of them are violent.
Now, when you were in there, did you ever think about putting a profile on one of those websites so you could develop a pen pal relationship with someone and potentially find a woman to come to the prison for conjugal visits?
No. I always felt like, I was going to get out someday, and I would have try to have a normal life. And so far I've been doing pretty good. I've been out over 20 years.
Oh, congratulations. Well, I'm glad everything worked out for you.
Yeah. But as far as, we're in LA. Sorry, Cyrus.
That's not for you, right?
No, it was a paramedic truck, so hopefully not. But I will let you know this. Number one, it's a very small percentage of men who are actually involved in that program, because there are, of course, as you would expect, there are a lot of hoops you have to jump through to even get married if you're not already married, and then to actually get approved for the family visiting list, because that's what it's called inside, family visiting. So, I mean, it's a very small percentage of the population on the yard that actually has anything to do it. So in no way is it a real deterrent for the population to behave properly because they don't want to lose their family visits. It really has no bearing on what goes on in the yard. And as far as weights go, that's you need to hire somebody to fact check all that stuff, because we lost the weights when I was in. There have been no weights in the state of California prisons for like 22 years. No, more like 24 years, actually.
Is it easier to get a family visit over a conjugal visit?
They're one and the same. It just depends on the people that were approved to come.
I see. Okay, because if it was easier,
there's no distinction.
If it was easier, my guess it would be yeah, if it was easier to have a family visit, my guess is a lot of guys in those prisons would claim to have 18-year-old daughters from Cambodia.
Well, it doesn't work quite that way. I mean, there really is, like I said, there are a lot of hoops that you have to jump through. Let's put it this way. Most of the guys, their first family visit, if they become eligible, is like 2, 3, 4 years into their time. It isn't like you just, you want a family visit, so you hook something up and it happens. It isn't. It's not like that at all, John. And as far as the women who seek guys in there, I mean, that is like one of the dumbest things to do, believe me. I mean, I know a lot of those people or knew a lot of those people, and I would say easily 90%, it's all gaming. It's all a game, trying to get, money, packages, visits, stuff like that. So, yeah, it's a really, really dumb way to go I think for men or women, because there are men who get in that trap too with female prisoners. And, basically you're talking about people who are trying to con you in some way, and I distanced myself from all that baloney while I was in there.
All right. Well, thank you so much for the call, and thank you so much for all of that great information. We appreciate it. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. 2 women are dead after traveling to Mule Creek State Prison for a conjugal visit with their convicted killer husbands. Now the families are saying it's the state of California's fault. I wouldn't give them a cent. Would you? 800-222-5222. 1-800-222-5222. If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, you're monitoring the mailbag.
Susan writes in at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com and says, give them Zippo and keep the Menendez brothers where they are.
The Fix California Hour coming up after the news at 1. Riverside County Sheriff Chad Bianco joins us. Right now we're taking your calls at 800-222-5222. Let's go to Albert in Lake County. Albert, hello.
Hi, John. Hi, Randy. Thanks for taking my call.
Thanks for calling.
So the last caller was pretty good, but I needed your listeners to hear it from the other side. We had to go visit my son there at a major prison here and bring my granddaughter. So the day visits, you could go every week on a Sunday for a couple hours, and you couldn't touch them, but you sit across the cafeteria table. So after a couple of years, then we get the family visit. And to get in the family visit, you're literally taking your family to prison. Because you come through the prison gates, you go through the prison, and in the middle of the prison, it's all fenced off and wired off, and there's like six 2-bedroom shacks in there, and you get to spend 3 days with your kid. And so the officers were also kind, and then during the day, they come 3 times a day to check on everything's fine, and 1 or 2 times in the middle of the night to make sure everything's fine. So as far as when the visit there with your child or your wife or your husband, it's well controlled most of the time. So with the women, and I don't know anything about Mule Creek, but with the women there going there, they knew what they were doing, and the officers aren't to blame for this. That's my opinion.
Well, I don't know what else you could expect from the state. If they check on them that often and they are checking not just during the day but at night, then that's pretty much above and beyond what I would expect from the state of California, because when you're dealing with these sorts of weekends, I would imagine the family wants to have private bonding time, whether they talk about what's going on in their life or whatever, watching movies, playing board games, whatever these families do when they're hanging out with one another. You have someone who's coming in and out all the time, that's disruptive. So I would imagine that most of these families, most of these inmates probably want more privacy and not less. When you're in prison, you get no privacy. So if you've got your family there, your wife there or whatever, and you have an opportunity for a little privacy, my guess is that's part of the plum.
And then also, if you stepped out, like there's a basketball court, we played the football and soccer. We walk outside, and there's three guard towers looking down at you. So basically, besides the privacy in the bedroom or in the room, right? You got one channel on TV, you got a couple old Monopoly games that parts are missing. Maybe a deck of cards. Maybe the refrigerator works, maybe it doesn't. Definitely no pillows. You can't bring any of your own clothes in there. It's like you're going to prison for 3 days. And but we did that for 7 years. So I this is ridiculous to be sued for what these women went through. They should not have gone, in my opinion. That's all I want to say.
Is your kid out and doing okay?
Oh yeah, 10 years sober.
Oh, fantastic! I'm happy to hear that.
Sober. I know. So are we. Mom and I are too.
Well, congratulations.
Right.
Thanks so much for the
man.
call.
You have a nice day.
You too. Thank you. Let's go to Angela in Oakland. Angela, hello.
Hi. I just have to say, love your show. California, Newsom, Porter, Schiff have made it a total hellhole here. I'm a business owner. I live nearby. And no, I don't want to pay for anybody who is stupid enough to go with their husbands in prison and end up getting murdered. I can't pay for any more stuff. Okay? We're just tired. We're bleeding. So that's kind of what I want to input. I feel sorry for the last man who said his son was in prison, but we're all tired of paying for all this stuff. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
Well, thank you so much for the call. I appreciate that. Let's go to Colin in Tracy. Colin, hello.
Hi, how are you doing?
Good.
You are doing a great job, and the subject is well presented. I would just like to say I disagree with you. Because it's a controlled environment, and it's up to you to make sure that the controls are adequate. I'm not saying that you become a prophet and you would know every danger that there is, but there's so much sympathy that one could feel for these women. Also, to think that this is where people have to go now for companionship. It doesn't reflect well on society that, somebody's going to say, I have to go to a prison to find a guy. But these women should be safe. And I think as long as there's a loss of life, you really got to step up. And you got to do right by these families and award them something. We waste money on all sorts of other issues. We should do something for these women, at least for their surviving family members who would make a claim about it.
Well, here's the problem. If all of us are responsible for something bad that happens when there is an expectation of danger, which there is if you're going to a private place with someone who's been convicted of murder, the answer is the state of California will just pull the program altogether, and no one can see their spouse and no one can see their kids, because that way you eliminate all of the risk of anything happening to the wives or the kids. It's just like when you're on an airplane. You know that there could be turbulence that pops up at any moment. You know that there could be an air pocket that the airplane hits that's unexpected. Is it safe to be in your seat with the seatbelt on? Yes. But if you're the pilot and you're in charge of maintaining the safety of the plane and you will get blamed if something bad happens, then what the pilots will do is just keep the seatbelt fasten sign on 24/7, because then you can't blame them. But then what happens if you need to go to the bathroom? That's a problem. Thank you for the call, sir.